She hit him in broad daylight, right there on Alderton Avenue, in front of a boutique that charged more for a single handbag than most families spent on groceries for a month. She raised her palm and swung it across the face of a man she had decided, in the space of about 4 seconds, was worth nothing. He didn't move, didn't step back, didn't raise a hand, didn't make a sound. He just stood there, cheek going red, eyes steady, watching her like he already knew the ending of a story she hadn't even started reading yet. I need you to sit with that image for a second, because everything that follows, every single thing that is about to happen to these people, starts right there, on that sidewalk, in that moment of absolute stillness. His name is Darius Lawson, and the woman who hit him had no idea who she was hitting. She still doesn't, not yet, but she's about to find out. Harwick, a coastal city in the American Southeast, late spring. It's the kind of city that keeps its history pressed into the sidewalks, cobblestones worn smooth by 2 centuries of foot traffic. A bell tower on the north end of Alderton Avenue that chimes every hour. The same cast-iron bells that marked time through wars and famines and 100 other things this city doesn't talk about over Sunday brunch. Tourists love it here. They photograph the architecture and eat at the outdoor cafes and buy postcards that make the whole place look like a painting. Darius Lawson has been here 11 days. He does not look like he belongs. That is entirely by design. He walks Alderton Avenue in the same outfit he's worn most of this trip. Dark jacket, worn soft at the elbows. Plain gray cap pulled low. Sneakers that have put in some years. He moves at the pace of a man with nowhere urgent to be, which makes him invisible. In a city full of tourists with cameras and executives on their phones, a quiet man in worn clothes is furniture. He stops at the corner of Alderton and 5th, looks up at a building that takes up half the block. The cornerstone is pale limestone, carved into it in letters that were meant to last forever. One word: Mercer. Darius looks at it for exactly 3 seconds. Something moves across his face, fast, like a cloud crossing the sun. Then it's gone. He keeps walking. In the right breast pocket of his jacket, folded into 8ths and soft as cloth from years of handling, is a newspaper clipping. The print has faded, but the headline is still legible if you hold it at the right angle. Clearwater Life and Risk faces class action lawsuit. Dozens of families claim systematic denial of coverage. He does not take it out right now. He doesn't need to. He has had it memorized since he was 22 years old. His phone buzzes. He steps into the shade of a doorway. The Cedarhurst paperwork cleared this morning, his assistant tells him. 160 acres, private airstrip included, all in Lawson Holdings' name. Good, Darius says. Keep it quiet. How much longer are you staying? Until I see what I came to see. He ends the call, stands for a moment in the doorway. Across the street, through the polished glass of Whitfield & Company, the most expensive boutique on this block, he can see the interior. Crystal fixtures, silk draped on mannequins, price tags facing inward so you have to pick things up to see how much they cost. A woman behind the counter looks up. Their eyes meet through the glass for 2 seconds. She looks away first. Darius looks at the mannequin in the window. It's wearing a dark vest, navy, well cut, the kind of thing that photographs well. He stares at it for just a second too long. Not at the vest, at the building reflected in the glass behind him, at the word carved in limestone, Mercer. He walks on. His phone buzzes again. This time, the name on the screen makes him exhale through his nose. Theo. "Tell me you've done something," his younger brother says, skipping hello entirely. Theo Lawson, 34, has been impatient since the day he was born. 11 days, Dare. You've been in that city for 11 days. I'm watching. You've been watching for 19 years. I know. They don't deserve your patience. Theo's voice is tight. They never did. You've got everything you need to put that family in the ground, legally, financially, publicly. You could do it before the week is out and be back in Atlanta by Friday. Darius is quiet for a moment. He watches a couple exit the boutique down the block. Designer bags, sunglasses, the particular ease of people who have never once worried about whether their credit card will clear. Mom didn't raise us to burn things down, he says. Theo is silent on the other end, not agreeing, not disagreeing, just sitting in the familiar weight of that sentence, the one Darius has been saying to him for years. I'll call you tonight, Darius says. He puts the phone in his pocket and turns back toward the boutique. And that's when the door opens. Her name is Sloane Mercer. She is 31 years old. She is wearing a cream-colored dress that probably required a specific dry cleaner, and heels that make a specific kind of sound on cobblestone, the sound of someone who has never once hurried. Behind her, carrying 3 shopping bags, is Preston Wade, her fiancé of 3 years. He has the look of a man who has been carrying shopping bags for 3 years. Sloane sees Darius immediately. She has the particular skill developed over a lifetime of certain neighborhoods and certain restaurants and certain social circles, of clocking who doesn't belong. It takes her less than a second. She stops. "Excuse me." Her voice is loud enough that 2 people on the other side of the street glance over. "Were you waiting for something?" Darius says nothing. He meets her eyes. Steady. She takes a step closer. Her perfume is expensive, aggressively floral, the kind of thing that announces itself before you do. This isn't a public rest stop. She gestures at the space around her like she is explaining something to someone very slow. The people who shop here are not comfortable with strangers loitering outside. Still nothing from Darius. A man named Andre Sims is walking home from his shift at the restaurant 3 blocks over. He's tired. His feet hurt. He has leftover bread in a paper bag under his arm. He slows down when he sees the posture of the scene, the particular geometry of confrontation. He pulls out his phone, starts recording. Sloane notices the phone. She doesn't care. Let them record. She is, in her own understanding of herself, completely in the right. She draws herself up to her full height. "My family built half this block," she says. "The Mercers have been part of this city for 4 generations. This space is not for people like you." And then something shifts in Darius's expression. Not anger, not hurt. Something quieter and much older. Recognition. He says one word, quiet, almost to himself. Mercer. Not a question, not surprise, a confirmation. Sloane's palm swings, hard. The crack of it silences the immediate corner of the street. Darius's cheek goes red. He does not move, does not speak. His eyes stay on hers for 3 long seconds. And in those 3 seconds, The whole sidewalk seems to hold its breath. A car alarm goes off 2 blocks away. A child somewhere asks her mother what happened. Nobody intervenes. Nobody steps forward. 2 people across the street watch with their phones half raised, caught between the instinct to record and the instinct to stay out of it. Then Darius speaks. His voice is almost gentle. "Clearwater Life and Risk," he says. "Your father ran claims there, didn't he?" The color leaves Sloane's face. Her hand is still in the air, trembling now, not from guilt, from the specific cold feeling of information you weren't supposed to know. "What did you say?" Preston is watching Darius with an expression that doesn't fit the situation. He should look alarmed. He should look loyal. Instead, he looks like someone who just heard something click into place. "Sloane," his voice is low. "We need to go." He knows things. Sloane turns to Preston, hissing. "He's been following us." Andre Sims across the street has 67 seconds of footage now. The slap, the stillness, the exchange that followed. He doesn't know it yet, but this 67 seconds is about to become the most consequential piece of video he has ever taken. The police are called at 2:54 in the afternoon. Preston makes the call. His voice is steady, practiced. "There's a man outside Whitfield and Company on Alderton Avenue. He was bothering my fiancée. She had to defend herself." In the background, Sloane adds, "He mentioned my father, by name. He's been watching us." Darius hears every word. He stands where he is, hands visible, face calm. And somewhere behind his eyes, in a place no one on this sidewalk has access to, he is 19 years back, sitting in a waiting room at Harwick General Hospital, holding his mother's hand. Naomi Lawson, 52 years old, strongest person he had ever known, sitting in a plastic chair with a number from the intake desk in her hand, telling her 22-year-old son not to worry. "The Lord provides," she told him, "and I've got good insurance. 11 years I've been paying into that policy. They'll cover what I need." She smiled when she said it. That specific smile of hers, the one that started at the left corner of her mouth first. 2 police cruisers arrive at 3:07. Officer Ray Dunbar steps out first. Square jaw, close-cropped hair. The walk of a man who has never had his authority questioned in a way that left a mark. He goes straight to Sloane. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Sloane touches her wrist as though it's sore. It isn't. "He was blocking the entrance," she says. "When I asked him to move, he became aggressive. He knows things about my family. I believe he's been stalking us for days." Dunbar writes. Doesn't look at Darius yet. Is taking Sloane's statement down as though it is a sworn deposition. "He assaulted you?" "I protected myself." Sloane's voice finds its shape. The voice of someone who has been believed in every room she has ever entered. "Of course I did." Dunbar turns. His eyes move over Darius the way they have been trained, by years of habit, to move over certain kinds of men on certain kinds of blocks. "Sir, turn around. Hands where I can see them." Darius complies, quietly. The handcuffs click shut. As Dunbar guides him toward the patrol car, Darius says something under his breath, so quiet that Dunbar has to pause. "What was that?" Darius looks straight ahead. I said, "I know this feeling. I recognized it from the last time." Dunbar doesn't ask what he means. He opens the car door. Sloane watches the patrol car pull away. Then she smooths the front of her dress, satisfied. The way you feel when you call customer service and they agree with you. Preston stands a half step behind her, watching the car disappear around the corner. His expression is private, turned inward. He's thinking about something, and it has nothing to do with his fiancée's victory. "Okay, I need to stop right here for a second, because I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, where's the twist? We can feel it coming. Who is this guy? I need you to trust the story, because the next part is where everything you thought you understood gets turned sideways." The denial letter came on a Tuesday in March. Naomi Lawson had paid into her Clearwater Life and Risk policy for 11 years. 11 years of monthly payments through lean seasons and lean years, because she believed in the contract. She believed that if something happened, they would be there. Claim number CLR-190093-4471. Policyholder Naomi M. Lawson. Status denied. Reason: pre-existing condition exclusion. Patient history indicates prior consultation for breast-related concerns. The prior consultation was a routine exam 2 years earlier. Nothing found. Nothing flagged. Completely normal. But someone at Clearwater Life and Risk flagged it anyway. Someone who had a quota to meet. Someone who got a bonus, a quarterly bonus, for every claim he denied. Someone whose signature sat at the bottom of that letter in neat, unhurried handwriting. Harlan R. Mercer, Vice President, Claims Division. By the time Naomi found a way to pay for treatment out of pocket, borrowed money, a second mortgage on a house she'd been paying off for 15 years, money from her church, from neighbors, from strangers who heard through mutual connections, the cancer had spread. Stage 1 when she first went in, Stage 4 by the time she got treatment. The difference between those two stages was 4 months. 4 months. Darius was 22 years old when he sat beside her hospital bed and watched the monitors go flat. It was 4:47 in the morning on a Thursday. The room smelled of antiseptic and the specific absence of hope that has its own particular weight. He held her hand until it was completely still. Then he sat there for another 2 hours because he didn't know what else to do. He found the denial letter in her things 2 weeks later. Tucked between unpaid hospital invoices and the life insurance policy that had barely covered the funeral. He read Harlan Mercer's name. He folded the letter into eighths, put it in his pocket, and made himself a promise. Not a promise of revenge. His mother had spent her whole life telling him that revenge was just another way of letting the thing that hurt you keep hurting you. No. He made a promise that he would build something real, something that could not be denied or dismissed or stamped with a reason code and filed away. And then he did exactly that. 19 years, 3 companies, a foundation that had funded free healthcare navigation services for families in 11 states. A real estate portfolio that included, as of 6 months ago, 160 acres of coastal estate property in Harwick, acquired quietly through a holding company, Lawson Holdings, LLC, that nobody in this city had connected to the man in the worn jacket. He could have destroyed the Mercer family financially a dozen times over. Hostile acquisition of their remaining real estate assets. Legal warfare on multiple fronts. He had the evidence. He had the resources. He had 19 years of accumulated leverage. He chose instead to come to Harwick, dress simply, walk the streets, watch. Give them a chance to show him who they were now. Sloane showed him. In the back of the patrol car, hands still cuffed, Darius closes his eyes. He doesn't think about what comes next. He thinks about his mother's left side smile. Then he opens his eyes and watches the city pass through the window. He has a phone call to make. At the Harwick Police Department, Darius is booked and processed, photographed, fingerprinted, allowed one call. He dials from memory. "Viv," he says when she picks up. Vivienne Okafor, senior partner at Okafor and Associates, one of the most respected attorneys in this region, has known Darius Lawson for 15 years. She has bailed him out of exactly 0 situations, because until today there has been nothing to bail him out of. "Tell me," she says. "Sloane Mercer. She hit me on a public sidewalk. I was arrested without being asked for my side. Bring the file." A pause. Not surprise. Vivienne does not do surprise. "The Mercer file. All of it. I'll be there in 55 minutes. Darius sits in the holding cell. The fluorescent light above him buzzes at a frequency that implies it has been buzzing for years. In the adjacent cell, someone is crying, very quietly, in the way people cry when they're trying not to be heard. He thinks about his mother. He thinks about a boy named Theo, 10 years old the August their mother died, who stood at the funeral with his small hands clenched at his sides, furious in a way that had nowhere to go. Darius had put his arm around his brother's shoulders and held on. He never stopped holding on. 43 minutes after the phone call, Vivienne Okafor walks into the Harwick Police Department. She is 52 years old. Silver hair cut close. She is wearing a charcoal blazer over a cream blouse, and she moves through the building the way certain kinds of people move through spaces, like she has always been here, and you are the guest. She places a leather portfolio on the desk sergeant's counter, opens it, sets down documents one at a time with the deliberate patience of someone who has all the time in the world and knows the other person does not. "My client, Darius Lawson, was assaulted on a public sidewalk. Multiple witnesses were present. He did not resist. He did not retaliate. He did not raise his voice or his hands." She sets down the last document. He was handcuffed without being asked a single question. The desk sergeant looks at the paperwork, at Vivienne, at the name on the company letterhead, Lawson Holdings. His expression changes in the specific way that expressions change when a situation reclassifies itself. "Ma'am, is this the same Lawson as—" "The same." Vivienne's voice is patient. The patience of someone explaining something for the 1,000th time. "My client is the founder and chief executive of Lawson Holdings. He was conducting site research for a charitable initiative when he was physically assaulted. I'll be requesting Officer Dunbar's body camera footage within the hour, as well as the 911 audio." Officer Dunbar appears in the hallway behind the desk sergeant. His face has the look of a man reviewing a decision he cannot undo. "Ma'am, we responded to an emergency call." The woman stated he was harassing her. Vivienne looks at him for the first time. Her expression says nothing and implies everything. "And how many questions did you ask my client before placing him in handcuffs?" Dunbar's mouth opens. "That's what I thought," Vivienne says quietly. She turns back to the desk sergeant. "I'd like him released. Now." Darius walks out of the Harwick Police Department at 4:22 in the afternoon. No charges. The paperwork will get lost in the way paperwork does when nobody wants to find it. Outside, a handful of people have gathered. Someone must have posted online. 2 reporters are setting up cameras, not yet sure what the story is. Theo is there. He's standing on the sidewalk with his arms crossed, phone in his hand, expression on his face that is 3 parts fury and 1 part something that might be relief. Darius walks to him. They stand close for a moment. Theo opens his mouth. "Don't," Darius says. "I'm not saying anything." "You were about to." Theo looks away. When he looks back, the fury has shifted into something more complicated. 19 years, Dare, and she just hit you, like you were nothing. And they put cuffs on you, like you were nothing. His voice drops. "You are not nothing." "I know that," Darius says. "Then act like it." Darius looks at his brother for a long moment. The same face he's been looking at since they were boys. The same eyes. His mother's eyes. "She raised us better than what we'd have to become to destroy them," he says. Theo is quiet. Not convinced, but quiet. They get in the car. "Bro, let me tell you, I have thought about this moment a lot. What it would feel like to be Darius Lawson in that car, with that choice sitting in your lap like a stone. Because he has everything. The resources, the evidence, the motive that any jury in the country would understand. And he's choosing to wait. That kind of patience is not passive. That kind of patience is the hardest work there is. Across town, in the living room of the Mercer family home, Sloane is pacing. Her father's voice on the phone is ice. "I need you to listen to me very carefully," Harlan Mercer says. "Do not speak to the press. Do not post anything. Do not discuss this with anyone outside this family. I will handle it." "Daddy," Sloane stops pacing. "You're scaring me. He's just some stranger who was outside a store." "Why are you treating this like a crisis?" A pause that goes 1 beat too long. "Because I said so," Harlan says. "Let me handle it." The line goes dead. Sloane stands holding her phone. Preston is on the couch behind her, one ankle crossed over his knee, scrolling his phone screen with his thumb. "Are you listening to me?" Sloane asks. "Mm-hmm." "Preston." "Lawson Holdings." He reads from his screen, voice flat and even. "Atlanta-based investment and development firm. Founded 2009. Primary operations in technology, real estate acquisition, and community health initiatives." He pauses. "Estimated net worth." He stops, scrolls, sets the phone face down on the cushion beside him. Sloane stares at him. "What?" she says. "Estimated net worth what?" Preston looks up at her. His expression is the most awake she has seen it in months. "A lot," he says. "It's a lot." He picks up the phone again and deletes his search history. But his mind is still running, still following a thread that started the moment he saw Darius Lawson stand motionless under Sloane's hand, and understood, with sudden clarity, that the man was choosing to stand there. Preston has been choosing things for 3 years, choosing to carry the bags, choosing to make the call, choosing to stand half a step behind. He is starting to wonder what he might choose differently. The video goes everywhere. Andre Sims posts his 67 seconds from the corner of Alderton Avenue at 5:14 in the afternoon. By 9 in the evening, it has been seen 400,000 times. By the following morning, 4 million. The moment everyone replays is the stillness, the slap, the silence, and then the crack of those words in Darius's quiet voice. Clearwater Life and Risk. Your father ran claims there, didn't he? A woman who is not anyone's homeless person, asking a specific question about a specific company. That question is what catches Camille Roth. Camille is 41 years old. She has spent 14 years as an investigative journalist covering the kinds of stories that make people uncomfortable and the kinds of people who pay lawyers to make those stories go away. She has a regional press award on the windowsill of her apartment. She has also had 3 stories killed by legal threats in the past 6 years. She watches the video 9 times. Most people see a confrontation. Camille sees a chess move. She starts with the boutique. The manager at Whitfield & Co. is curt, polished, and absolutely refuses to comment. Corporate advisement. Ongoing situation. Very sorry. But a woman named Paula Hines will talk. Paula worked at Whitfield & Company for 3 years before leaving last spring. She now works at a bakery on the north end of town. She meets Camille at a table in the back. They called it brand maintenance, Paula says. She's turning a paper cup in her hands, around and around. If someone came in who looked a certain way, we were supposed to make them feel unwelcome enough to leave. There were specific things we'd do, hovering, asking them multiple times if they needed help in a tone that didn't mean it. Camille writes without looking up. What does a certain way mean? Paula puts the cup down, meets Camille's eyes. You know what it means. I knew what it meant. Every one of us knew. The woman running this policy was Gretchen Vale, manager of Whitfield & Company for 6 years. Efficient, meticulous. The kind of person who documented everything in language so careful it was almost beautiful in its ability to mean 2 things at once. Camille obtains an internal memo through a source. The language is precise. Staff are empowered to ensure the shopping environment reflects our brand standards and meets the expectations of our core client base. Core client base. Brand standards. Camille has seen this language before. She has a folder somewhere with 3 other memos from 3 other companies in 3 other cities that say almost exactly the same thing. She files requests with the city for complaint records on Whitfield & Company going back 5 years. 6 complaints, all involving customers who were people of color. All dismissed. All responded to with form letters. She tracks down the complainants. Most won't talk. The injury is still fresh, or they've made the calculation, the one that too many people have to make, that the cost of speaking isn't worth what they'll get. But Beverly Haynes talks. Beverly is 55 years old, retired after 27 years teaching middle school science. She was buying a birthday gift for her granddaughter the day she walked into Whitfield & Company. They followed me through every aisle, Beverly says. Her voice is steady. Her hands aren't. When I stopped at a display, someone appeared. When I moved to another section, there they were again. I spent 11 minutes in that store, and I was followed for every single one of them. What did you do? I went to the manager. I explained what happened. Beverly presses her lips together. She told me I was making other customers uncomfortable. That word. Camille has heard it before. Uncomfortable. She said I was making other customers uncomfortable, Beverly repeats. I had been shopping there, and she said that. Camille writes, but the line from the video is still echoing. Clearwater Life and Risk. Your father ran claims there. She digs. An old newspaper archive, a lawsuit from 19 years ago. Clearwater Life and Risk faces class action lawsuit. Settled out of court. Sealed. The company dissolved 3 years later. Its assets moved into the Mercer family's real estate holdings. Who were the claimants? What were they denied? Who signed those denials? Camille sends an inquiry to Lawson Holdings communications office. She gets a polite acknowledgement and a callback scheduled for the following week. She's not waiting a week. She calls the direct number she found through a contact in Atlanta. 30 seconds of hold music. Then, Ms. Roth. The voice is calm, even, like a man who has been expecting this call and has decided to be unhurried about it. Mr. Lawson, Camille says. I think I found something. Tell me what you found. A denial letter. Claim number CLR-190093-4471. Naomi Lawson. She pauses. She was your mother. The silence on the other end is long, not uncomfortable, just real. I wondered how long it would take someone to find it, Darius says. You knew who Sloane Mercer was before she hit you. I knew who her father was. I've known for 19 years. Camille's pen is hovering. Why didn't you go public? You have the resources. You have the platform. Because going public isn't the same as justice. And because, he's quiet for a moment. My mother spent her whole life giving people the chance to be better than their worst impulses. I came to Harwick to find out if the Mercers had taken that chance. And Sloane answered that question herself. Camille sets down the pen, picks it up again. I want to publish all of it, Mr. Lawson. The denial, the connection, everything. Then tell the truth, he says, including the parts where I don't look like a hero, the parts where I came to this city with an agenda. Let people decide for themselves what kind of man I am. A pause. There's also someone else who's going to reach out to you, he adds. Someone who's been carrying something heavy for a long time and just figured out he doesn't want to carry it anymore. Who? He'll tell you himself. The line ends. Man, even on the phone this guy is 5 steps ahead. The parking structure on Hadley Street, 10:47 at night. Camille leans against a concrete pillar and waits. A car pulls in, idles. The window comes down. Preston Wade looks like a man who has not slept since Tuesday. I've been sitting on this for 3 years, he says. He doesn't bother with hello. Not all of it, but enough. I've been watching Sloane's father operate, and I've been telling myself it wasn't my business. Telling myself I just didn't understand how their world worked. What changed? Camille asks. Preston's hands are on the steering wheel at 10:02. He stares through the windshield. I watched that man stand there after she hit him, and I watched his face, and I understood something. He's quiet for a second. He was choosing to stand there. He was choosing not to react. And I realized I'd been choosing too. Every time I didn't say something, every time I looked the other way, I was choosing. He passes a folder through the window. Inside, email chains. Internal communications. A thread between Harlan Mercer and his family attorney, time-stamped 4 days after the incident on Alderton Avenue. Camille reads the key passage aloud. Handle the witness situation. Handle the journalist inquiry. We cannot allow this to impact the Cedarhurst transaction. She looks up. What's the Cedarhurst transaction? Preston nods once. Cedarhurst Estate. The venue where our wedding is supposed to happen in 3 weeks. His voice has the specific flatness of someone describing something that used to feel real. Harlan has been trying to close a $52 million sale on the property. When the video went viral, he spent 24 hours trying to contain the story. Not for Sloane. Not because his daughter's reputation was at risk. Preston turns and looks at Camille directly for the first time. For the money. Camille is already looking at the second document in the folder. A contract of sale. Cedarhurst Estate, 160 acres. The buyer, Lawson Holdings, LLC. Camille stares at it. Okay, wait. I have to stop. Because this is the part where the story bends completely back on itself, and you realize you've been watching something entirely different from what you thought you were watching. Darius Lawson has owned Cedarhurst Estate for 6 months. Sloane Mercer's wedding venue. The property her father has been trying to sell to protect his finances has belonged this whole time to the man she hit on the sidewalk. He bought the property where her wedding would happen. Not as revenge, not to humiliate her. He bought it because it was for sale, and it was exactly the kind of property his foundation had been looking for. 160 acres, a private airstrip, space to build something. He just hadn't announced it yet. And Harlan Mercer, who knew who the buyer was, had been scrambling for weeks to complete the transaction quietly, hoping neither his daughter nor the press would connect the name. He wasn't protecting Sloane from the embarrassment of the man she hit. He was protecting a $52 million deal. Camille drives home that night with the folder on the passenger seat. Her editor has already killed the initial story under pressure from the Mercer family's attorneys. A cease and desist on Mercer Family Trust letterhead. Heavy paper, embossed, the kind of stationery that is specifically designed to communicate that you can afford better lawyers than the person reading it. Her editor won't fight it. Camille sits at her kitchen table with her notes spread in front of her and makes a decision. She no longer needs the paper. She has another way. The next morning, Gretchen Vale is not expecting a visitor. She opens the conference room door at Whitfield & Company to find Camille sitting across the table with 6 manila folders spread in front of her like a hand of cards. Gretchen is in her late 40s, well organized, the kind of person whose desk has color-coded tabs and whose calendar has no dead space. She has been managing this boutique for 6 years, and in 6 years she has handled every situation that walked through the door. She sits down. She is confident. She does not need a lawyer present for a conversation. Ms. Vale, Camille says, I'd like to talk to you about your brand maintenance policy. Gretchen's posture does not change. Her expression does not change. Whitfield & Co. operates within all applicable retail guidelines, she says. We have a strong record of customer satisfaction. 6 complaints in 5 years, Camille says. All from customers of color, all dismissed. I have the records. She opens the first folder. And I have the memo. She places it on the table and reads the relevant line. The line Gretchen wrote, in Gretchen's words. Something flickers across Gretchen's face, just for a half second. That language is standard across our industry, Gretchen says. Brand standards are a legitimate business consideration. Camille closes the folder, opens the second one. Beverly Haynes, 55 years old, retired school teacher. 27 years in the Harwick public school system. She slides a photograph across the table. Beverly standing outside the boutique, taken from the complaint records. She came in to buy a birthday gift for her granddaughter. She was followed through every aisle for 11 minutes, and then told by you, personally, that she was making other customers uncomfortable. Gretchen's jaw is set. I don't recall the specifics of every customer interaction. She does, Camille says. Silence. I'd like to speak with legal, Gretchen says. Camille begins gathering the folders. That's the second most common thing people say to me, she says. The most common is, I should have done something different. She stands, picks up her bag. Gretchen is still sitting at the table when Camille walks out. That evening, Darius receives a brief text from Camille. The third piece is in place. 2 days later, Cedarhurst Estate, late morning. Sloane arrives in a car service vehicle because she has an appointment to finalize floral arrangements and seating charts and the 11 other decisions that remain between now and the wedding 3 weeks from today. The roses she chose are starting to come in along the garden wall, white with pale pink centers, exactly as she specified. The estate staff greets her at the entrance. They are polite. They are professional. They are also notably more guarded than the last time she was here. She notices. She doesn't understand it. She walks the garden, touches one of the roses, talks to the events coordinator about the tent placement. And then she hears it, low at first, growing. Engine noise. Not a car, something bigger. She looks up. A small private aircraft is descending over the tree line toward the estate's private airstrip. White fuselage, clean lines. Touching down with the precision of something that has landed on this particular strip before. Sloane frowns. Who authorized a landing? The events coordinator, a young woman named Lydia, has found something very interesting to look at near her feet. The aircraft door opens. Steps fold down. A figure appears in the doorway. He descends slowly, 1 step at a time. Dark suit, well cut. The afternoon light catches the face of the watch on his left wrist, a steel-cased timepiece that anyone in certain circles would recognize immediately. And he moves toward her with the unhurried confidence of someone who has been exactly here, in exactly this moment, in his mind, for a very long time. Sloane's legs go soft under her. She reaches for the back of a garden chair. You. Her voice barely clears her throat. You were on the street. You were outside the store. You're the person who... He stops 10 feet away. He looks at her the way she looked at him on Alderton Avenue. Unhurried, certain. Darius Lawson, he says. Chief Executive of Lawson Holdings. He holds her gaze. The company that completed its acquisition of this property 6 months ago. That's not... Sloane's hand tightens on the back of the chair. That's not possible. My father is the one handling the sale of this property. He would have told me. He would have... She stops. Something shifts in her face. A slow rearrangement of assumptions. You were wearing a jacket, she says, almost to herself. You looked like... I looked like what you decided I looked like, Darius says quietly. That's the part you should think about. He takes one step closer. There's something about your father that you need to know, he says. Not today. In 7 days, at Harwick Civil Court. I'd suggest you be there. He walks past her toward the main building. The staff steps aside. Lydia says, Mr. Lawson, welcome back. The East Wing is prepared. Welcome back. Sloane stands in her garden among her wedding roses on land she now understands she has never owned. And her phone starts to ring. She looks at the screen. Daddy. She watches it ring. It goes to voicemail. Real talk. That moment, when she doesn't answer the phone, that is the first choice Sloane Mercer has made in that garden that is entirely her own. She doesn't know what it means yet. Neither does she. But you can see it in her face when she puts the phone back in her pocket. Something is cracking open. And sometimes that's where the light gets in. Harwick Civil Court, 9:15 in the morning, 2 weeks later. Darius sits at the plaintiff's table in the same dark suit. Vivienne Okafor is beside him. She has a glass of water she hasn't touched, and a yellow legal pad with notes written in small, even handwriting. Across the aisle, Sloane sits beside her attorney. Her posture is the posture of someone who is trying to hold their shape. Her father, Harlan Mercer, is in the row directly behind her. Silver-haired, expensive suit. The particular stillness of a man who has been in difficult rooms before and survived them. Preston Wade is not in the room. He gave his deposition 4 days ago. He flew to Atlanta the following morning. Sent Darius a text from the gate. 2 words. Thank you. The gallery is full. Camille Roth is in the 3rd row with a notebook and a pen and no recorder, because she already has everything she needs. Beverly Haynes is there. Paula Hines. Pastor Owen Grant from the community church. 6 other people whose complaints against Whitfield and Company were filed and dismissed and filed again. Vivienne presents the evidence methodically. Officer Dunbar's body camera footage. The footage from Andre Sims. The 6 complaint files from Whitfield and Company. The internal memo with Gretchen Vale's signature. The email thread from Harlan to his attorney. Handle the witness situation. Handle the journalist. The sale contract for Cedarhurst Estate. And then the final exhibit. Vivienne lifts a document from her folder. The paper is yellowed at the edges, the corners soft from years of being unfolded and folded and unfolded again. Your Honor, she says. Exhibit 14. She places it on the evidence table and reads from it directly. Claim number CLR-190093-4471. Policyholder, Naomi M. Lawson. Claim reason, breast cancer screening, follow-up treatment authorization. Status, denied. Reason cited, pre-existing condition exclusion. Patient history indicates prior consultation for breast-related concerns. She pauses. The room is completely silent. Reviewing officer and authorizing signature, Harlan R. Mercer, Vice President, Claims Division, Clearwater Life and Risk. Sloane turns. She turns in her chair and looks at her father. Harlan is looking at the table. "That's from 19 years ago," she says. Her voice is very quiet. Not to the room, to him. "That's a denial letter from 19 years ago." Harlan says nothing. Vivienne continues. "Ms. Lawson's medical records, cross-referenced with the denial, confirm that the prior consultation cited as a basis for denial was a routine preventative exam 2 years earlier. No abnormal findings, no documented concerns. The denial was applied to a legitimate claim." Sloane is still looking at her father. "Daddy." Her voice breaks on the word, not from crying, from the specific weight of a question she is not sure she wants the answer to. "When that man said that thing about the insurance company, on the street, when you told me to let you handle it." She swallows. "Did you already know?" Harlan's jaw moves, but nothing comes out. "Did you know who he was?" The room holds its breath. Harlan Mercer straightens in his seat, looks at his attorney. Sloane turns back to face the front of the room. She sets her hands flat on the table in front of her and stares at them. Darius is looking at her. His expression is not satisfaction. It is not victory. It is something quieter and much more complicated. The face of a man who has carried a weight for 19 years and is finally, carefully, setting it down. The judge rules. $470,000 in compensatory damages to the plaintiff. Whitfield and Company is ordered to revise its customer policies and complete a comprehensive civil rights training program under third-party supervision. Gretchen Vale is suspended, pending the outcome of a workplace discrimination investigation. Harlan Mercer's involvement in the cover-up effort is referred to the state attorney's office for review of potential obstruction. The Clearwater Life and Risk denial records are referred separately for review by the state insurance commissioner. Sloane doesn't hear the ruling. She's still looking at her hands. The gallery empties. Reporters move quickly toward their phones. Beverly Haynes puts her hand briefly on Camille's shoulder. Pastor Grant says something quiet to the others who came. Darius stands. Vivienne gathers her papers. On the way out, he passes Sloane. He doesn't stop. But for just a second, their eyes meet. She says one thing, barely a whisper. "I didn't know." He looks at her for a moment. He nods once. That's all. Outside, the afternoon sun is lower than it was this morning. It hits the courthouse steps at the particular angle that makes everything look slightly more meaningful than it is, or maybe exactly as meaningful as it is. Theo is waiting on the bottom step. He falls into step beside his brother without saying anything. They walk to the car together. Halfway across the parking lot, Theo stops. Darius stops beside him. Theo is looking at the courthouse. At the building where, 20 minutes ago, Harlan Mercer's signature on a 20-year-old denial letter was read aloud in front of a gallery of people who came specifically to witness it. "She really didn't know," Theo says. Not a question. "No." Theo is quiet for a moment. He rubs the back of his neck. "It doesn't fix what he did," he says. "No," Darius agrees. "It doesn't. But it's something." Darius looks at his brother. His younger brother, who has been furious since he was 10 years old, who has spent 19 years waiting for his older brother to fight back in the way Theo understands fighting. "It's something," Darius says. "Come on." They get in the car. 14 days later, Cedarhurst Estate. The roses are gone. The white ceremony tents have been dismantled and trucked away. The seating chart, and the floral timeline, and the handwritten place cards for 200 guests are in a box in a storage unit, where Sloane's wedding coordinator put them the morning she got the call. The estate is being rebuilt for something else entirely. Workers are moving through the main building, which is larger than it looks from the outside, with the focused energy of people who have a clear vision and the resources to execute it. Fresh paint, new signage going up on the exterior wall facing the driveway. Naomi Lawson Community Health Center, Cedarhurst Campus, Harwick, a project of the Lawson Foundation. Darius stands in the driveway and reads the sign for a long time. The $470,000 in damages has been donated to the Foundation Operating Fund, matched 2-to-1 from Lawson Holdings. The estate itself, the 160 acres, has been transferred to the Foundation as a charitable contribution. The Community Health Center will offer free primary care, chronic illness management, cancer screening, and specifically, a program for families who have been denied insurance coverage, helping them navigate appeals, find alternative funding, access care that they paid into and were refused. Theo is standing beside him. They look at the sign together. "She'd like this," Theo says. His voice is careful, carrying something. Darius nods. Theo turns and looks at his brother, really looks at him. "You knew from the beginning it was going to end up here," Theo says. "Not the courtroom, not the deal. This." He gestures at the building. "This is what you were building toward the whole time." Darius doesn't answer that directly. "She used to say," he says, and then he stops, starts again. "She used to say that the point wasn't to make the world owe you something. The point was to make the world a little more like the place you wanted to live in." Theo is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "She also used to make the worst sweet potato pie in the state of Georgia." Darius laughs, out loud, the kind of laugh that starts in the chest and takes you by surprise. The kind of laugh that has its own kind of grief inside it, because the person it's about is not there to hear it. Theo laughs too. They stand there in the driveway of what used to be someone else's property and laugh together in the afternoon light for a few seconds. And it is, in its way, the most important moment of this entire story. Beverly Haynes cuts the ribbon later that afternoon. She's standing with Paula Hines, who drove out from the north side of town and spent the whole morning volunteering to set up chairs. And with the 6 other people whose complaints were filed and dismissed and never answered. And with Pastor Owen Grant and about 40 members of his congregation and a reporter from a digital outlet that the Mercer family's attorneys have absolutely no reach over. Beverly holds the scissors for a moment before she cuts. "My granddaughter asked me last week what I was going to a ribbon cutting for," she says. "I told her I was going to see the place where something hard turned into something useful." She looks at the scissors. She's 8 years old. She just thought I was going to a party. She cuts the ribbon. People applaud. Darius stands to the side. He is wearing the same jacket he wore every day he walked Alderton Avenue. Camille approaches him as the small crowd begins to move inside. She has one last question. "When you were in that holding cell," she says. 3 hours, handcuffed on a public sidewalk for doing nothing. Your mother's name on a denial letter in a city file. Harlan Mercer walking free." She holds his gaze. How close did you come? Darius doesn't pretend not to understand the question. He looks at the building. Close, he says. I won't lie to you about that. In that police car, I planned it out. The hostile acquisition of everything Harlan Mercer still owns. The press releases, the legal filings. I had the whole thing mapped in about 45 minutes. He pauses. It felt good. For about 45 minutes. What changed? My mother's voice. He's quiet for a moment. Not anything she said that day specifically, just her voice, the way it sounded when she talked about this city, when she talked about the bells from the tower and the harbor light, and how she was going to come back someday. He exhales slowly. She never blamed Harlan Mercer for being the kind of man he was. She grieved it. But she never let it become the thing that defined her. Camille writes, "She told us once, Darius says, that you can't warm your house by burning down someone else's. You build your own fire." He looks at the sign on the building, his mother's name, permanent, cut into the face of something real. This is the fire, he says. He walks inside. Sloane Mercer canceled the wedding. She told people she needed time to think. She has not spoken to her father since the day she sat at that table in Harwick Civil Court and watched him refuse to answer her question. Sources close to the family say she is seeing a therapist in a neighboring city, working through the specific, difficult project of understanding which parts of yourself are real and which parts were inherited from people who built you for their purposes. She has been seen walking along the harbor in the evenings, alone. She looks, people say, like a woman in the middle of something. Harlan Mercer is under investigation by the state attorney and the insurance commissioner. His business partners have been quiet in the way business partners are quiet when they are reviewing their options. The $52 million Cedarhurst transaction has, of course, dissolved. He released a statement through his attorneys. All decisions made at Clearwater Life and Risk during my tenure were made in compliance with policy guidelines and legal standards applicable at the time. Not a denial, not an apology, not a thing. He is a man sitting in a house full of everything money can buy, and his daughter will not call him back. Gretchen Vale is suspended pending investigation. It is the first time in her professional life that she has been required to sit still and look directly at something. Preston Wade lives in Atlanta now. He sent Darius the 2-word text from the airport gate and has not been heard from publicly since. He is, by all accounts, figuring out who he is when he is not standing half a step behind someone. Andre Sims received several media requests to sell the exclusive rights to the video he took. He declined all of them. He donated the proceeds from one licensing deal to the Lawson Foundation's inaugural Community Health Fund. He had never heard of Darius Lawson before that afternoon on Alderton Avenue. He has now. Darius flies back to Atlanta on a Thursday evening. He takes the same small aircraft back to Cedarhurst first, parks it in the hangar on the property that now belongs to the foundation, and drives himself to the city from there. He wears the jacket on the plain gray cap, the sneakers with the years in them. He sits by the window and watches the coastline get small, and somewhere below him, on 160 acres of land that used to host weddings for people with specific definitions of who belonged, his mother's name is cut into a wall, permanent, built into something that will outlast all of them. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Not the courtroom drama, not the moment on the estate steps, not even the ribbon cutting. This, the way you treat someone when you have nothing to gain from treating them well. That's the test. That's the only test that matters. Not how you behave in interviews or at charity events or in rooms full of people who can help you. How you behave on a sidewalk on a Tuesday afternoon toward someone you will never see again and will never owe you anything. Sloane Mercer failed that test. And the cost wasn't just the estate or the wedding or the reputation. The cost was waking up one morning and finding out that the story she had been living about who her family was, about who she was, had a different ending than the one she thought. Harlan Mercer spent 19 years building a life on top of a decision he made in 30 seconds. A signature on a form. One family's tragedy, filed and forgotten. He found out it doesn't work like that. And Darius Lawson, 19 years. He could have burned it down at year 3, year 7, year 12. Every time he got powerful enough to do it without breaking a sweat. He built instead. He built the company. He built the foundation. He built the community center on the land where a wedding was supposed to happen for people who thought they owned the world. And he named it after his mother, because that's what she would have wanted, not his victory, not their defeat, something that lasts. If this story hit you somewhere you weren't expecting, leave a comment and tell me what part. Because the conversations in the comments are sometimes better than the video, and I read all of them. And if you know someone who needs to hear the part about how you treat people when you have nothing to gain, send this to them. You don't have to say anything. Just send it. They'll know why.